The artifact that I chose to analyze is President Trump's border wall speech. If you look at the context of the speech, it's not just a PSA, but it's a call to action. The audience is not only the American people, but Congress as well. The American people because they have the right to be aware and support what is right, and then Congress because they need to pass a bill that ends this crisis. Trump is letting the people know that many dangers to the American people are coming from the southern border. He asks a good question. How much more American blood must be shed for Congress to do its job? Lives are on the line, and he makes it abundantly clear that presidents have failed to solve this problem in the past. That is why he was elected, to actually solve the problem. He lists numerous facts of criminal acts and compares them to events so that people can really know what the real deal is. Once again, Trump's speech on the border wall is a PSA that informs the American people of a humanitarian crisis that must come to an end. The method of his approach is very interesting, because first he addresses the American people, then he states the problem and the root of it. So right off the bat, he says what it is and where it's coming from, which conveys that this is a very serious matter. He mentions that many deaths in America are results of what illegal immigrants are bringing here. He is very real with his method by saying that if we do not act now, then more lives will be lost. In the midst of that darkness, hope comes in, and that hope is when Trump says that he is determined to end this cycle of human suffering. He states the one thing standing in the way of solving the problem, the Democrats. They have refused to acknowledge the crisis and will not fund border security. Trump identifies the enemies and the allies. He says that his administration is doing everything they can to help those who have been impacted by the situation. Another thing that Trump does to make people understand the realism of why a border wall is needed is first comparing it to practical things. Wealthy politicians build walls and gates around their homes not because they hate the people on the outside, but because they love the people on the inside. Therefore, it is an immoral act to let people be horribly victimized. Trump gets deeper into the heart of the problem by giving an example of a real incident. The day after Christmas, a young police officer was killed in cold blood by an illegal alien who just came across the border. He said, "The life of an American hero was stolen by someone who had no right to be in our country." Trump goes on by saying that he has met families whose loved ones were stolen by the illegal immigrants. A brilliant part of the president's method is how he concludes, by reminding who the audience is and what the call to action is. He says to every member of Congress, pass a bill that ends this crisis. To every citizen, call Congress and tell them to finally, after all these decades, secure our border. He says that this choice is about justice and our duty to serve the American people. Trump ends by saying that he swore to protect America, and that is what he will always do. The method is very applicable to both audiences. The method is persuasive and uses facts to back up the points of the message. This is the justification, one of the primary standards of critical analyzing. Next comes reasonable inference, which is when the claims must be inferred from the data. Trump gives an account of his personal experience with families of the victims. Essays of rhetorical criticism are judged by a third aspect known as coherence. Now, coherence provides a critic's interpretation of the artifact as clear and logical. Trump gives logical facts that people have died from the crisis, and that it is wrong to ignore it and let it continue. The right thing to do is pass the bill because that is justice.